Hello everybody, we are Baruch Hashem starting a new Sikha. It's from the year 5752 from the Rebbe. We're using the translation. It's the royal words. You'll see it where you can get this on the website. You can also download it. You see in the description. So it's a fantastic translation of the words exact that's available. He did a great job of the Rebbe Sikhas, and he also put all the different footnotes. He translated and did some additional work. So now today we're going to talk about the 15th of Shvat. Okay. Remember, we're talking about, up to now, the Rebbe's really emphasizing the days of Shvat, especially Shvat was big days, because we had Shvat was the Frierdiker Rebbe was Nifter, and talked about the completion of that level. And the Rebbe became Rebbe. And then now we're to the 15th of Shvat, which the Rebbe said is really tied into the Shabbos from before, and it's tied into the Shabbos from before. So, and the Shabbos before has tied into the day, the yard site from the Frierdiker Rebbe, because of Shabbos before, but Shabbos Shira, the Shabbos was the completion of the work from the week that the Frierdiker Rebbe died in. Because he died in it was the Wednesday from before was his yard site. And therefore, it's completion of the Wednesdays in the Shabbos following. And then he says it's tied in the 15th of Shvat. And let's go and let's see what the Rebbe says inside. Okay. From the talk spoken on the 15th day of Shvat, 5752, translated from Hebrew. Number 1, page 204. The unique quality of the 15th of Shvat is called Tu B'Shvat, expressed in the fact that we do not say Tachnun on this day in the daily prayers, as well as the Mincha prayer before this day, that this is the new year for the trees. As is stated in the Mishnah, the 1st of Shvat is the new year for trees in accordance with the opinion of the school of Shammai, and the school of Beis Hillel is the 15th day of this month. And the law is in accordance with the opinion of the school of Beis Hillel. So basically what we're talking about here, there's a lot, generally if there's a holiday, you don't say Tachanun that day. But there's other Tu B'Shvat, other holidays that are not like holidays you have to not work and things, but it's a special day like that affects it. You don't say Tachanun. So also the day before you did the Mincha before you also don't say. So saying that the first thing we're talking about that. Let's look down at it. Let's finish the paragraph and we'll go back. We'll finish this. So let's look at some of the footnotes. The Rebbe is going to explain when this was, it sends in footnotes when this was, Rebbe delivered these speeches. It says the night following the 15th of Shvat after the evening prayer also included the words spoken on the night of the 15th of Shvat after the evening prayer, as well as at the ushering the 15th of Shvat after the afternoon prayer. And the points were added from talks of the 11th of Shvat as well as the night of the 17th. So we have 5 sikhas the Rebbe spoke over here. And they're all tied together, and then at the general Chidus audience for the guests, may they live. This is from the publisher. Okay. In addition, so let's look at 1. It says the unique quality of the 15th day of Shvat. Number 1. In addition to the advantage of the moon being complete, because on the 15th day of the Jewish calendar, the moon is always complete. It was the 15th day of every month, and most certainly with advanced vigor and greater strength in the 11th month of the Jewish calendar, which relates to the level of 11, which transcends all the 10 spheros. The Rebbe's always, as we're going to see as we go farther, is very important to understand that 10 and 11 are very important things. So he says this is another thing that the 15th day of Shvat, something special that happens in the 11th month. Okay, so let's go further on page 205. And therefore, it is the custom, it is the Jewish custom to eat on this day different types of fruits, and especially fruits which the land of Israel has praised, since in them it is emphasized the concept of the new year for fruits, as it pertains to the Jewish law regarding Maisa. So in other words, there's only certain things that you have to take, let's see what he says down below. Okay. Regarding, he says down, number 7, what's it mean that it pertains to Jewish law regarding mice and tithes? that we, number 7, that we are not to meiser, we're not allowed, talking about in taking a tithe, that we're supposed to take tithes from fruits and different things that grow into the land. So therefore, but you can only take tithe from one crop. You cannot tithe from one crop to another crop. It has to be grown the same period. The Rebbe's they're explaining in the Siegel, the Rebbe's bringing down, explaining to us that what's it mean, the Rosh Hashanah for the trees, it means that if a tree that had budded before the 15th of Shvat, you couldn't take meiser from it after the 15th of Shvat, and vice versa. So when it buds, that's considered the crop. It's not less than before. That we are not to take meiser from the fruits of the trees that budded before the 15th of Shvat, for the fruits of the trees that budded after the 15th of Shvat. Okay, let's go further. Okay, so it's a very important. So it's a very important thing. It affects how we do our work in the world, and is appropriate to explain the concept of this day in the service of Jewish people, as with regards to every aspect of Torah, from the word that the Torah is from the word Horah, instruction, an instruction and lesson in the godly service of man. I was created to serve my Creator, but the only reason I'm here was to serve God. That's all. I have no other meaning in life, just to serve God. That's why I was created, to serve God. First and foremost, this is very famous, the Rebbe is very much involved, says this a lot. First and foremost, with regard to this day itself, and mainly being that it is the New Year. So first and foremost, with regard to the day itself, what's he saying over here? Okay, so it's a special teaching, whether it's stuff from the beginning, the paragraph, and it is appropriate to explain the concept of this day in the service of the Jewish people, as with regard to every aspect of Torah. From the Torah is from the word hara, instruction, so that it has to teach us an instruction and lesson in godly service of man. I was created to serve my Creator. That's why I'm here. First and foremost, with regard to this day itself, so we have to learn everything that how God creates something, how it helps us in service of man, the serving God. First and foremost, the day itself, and more mainly being that that's the New Year. That special thing, the 15th of Shvat, is also the New Year. That this should be drawn over and throughout the whole year, until the New Year for the trees in the upcoming year, which there will be then an appreciated higher innovation and elevation higher than this year's elevation. Every year there's a new year. By Rosh Hashanah it says Hashem brings down a new light never was in the world. The same thing here. Every new year there's a new creation. There's a special bracha to the trees and to the fruits from the new year. So from the new year, the plants from the new year are reaching a higher elevation of godliness and revelation of godliness than the fruits that grew from the prior year. So now we're going to start to talk about this. Number 1. Number 2, the bottom of page 205. And by way of preference, so first we're going to understand this, what it means. Trees are related to Jewish people. That's what's written in the verse for man, which is mainly refers to Jewish people, that you are called Adam. So therefore, man is called Adam, namely since they are Adama, likened to the Elyon, Adama Elyon, that a Jew is like Hashem, that a person is Adam was made like God. It is like the tree of the field. It's another place it says that a Jew is like the tree of the field, especially the trees in the land of Israel, and among them in particular the trees with which the land of Israel was praised, that their relationship to the land of Israel is an outcome from them first being in the Jewish people themselves. So trees have to do with the Jewish people that were considered like a tree. So just like the trees that grow, so we also grow, and we're made in the image of God. So therefore, because of this, because it's in us, we're able to bring this into the land of Israel physically. But first it had to become inside of us. It's interesting to note, it says Adam and Elyon, that I'm similar to... it says Adam and Elyon. It says that... Connect? Yeah. Okay. Have to get a new camera, but no. Anyways. That's not serious. It's just a joke. So anyways, and now you're going to hear me better, Mitzvah Hashem, because I have this thing hooked to me. Anyways, okay, so what are we saying? That in order that Jews are like the tree, so that for the God to affect the land of Israel, he first affect the Jews. And this realizes great appreciation based on the fact that it's known that the Jewish people are called in the name of Eretz, land. We're called the land. As is stated, for you should be unto me a desirable land. Hashem says to the Jewish people, you should be for me a desirable land. And as is explained, the explanation of our sages, why is it called Eretz? Why is it the Jews called Eretz? Because it's Ratzta, the land, Eretz. Why is something called Eretz? Because it Ratzatza, to do the will of Hashem. What's it mean? Ratzatza has the meaning wanted, as well as the meaning ran. So that means a Jew really wants to do what Hashem wants, and he also runs to do what Hashem wants, which pertains mainly to desirable land. There's in reference to Jewish people, for each and every Jew and Jewish wants to do all the commandments, to the extent that he runs with the utmost speed and happiness and joy to do a commandment. And through them, these qualities are drawn down and brought about also in the land of the children of Israel, the Jews. And from this is understood that all the specific aspects found in the land of Israel are first found in the Jews. So it's through the qualities, the Rebbe is saying, through this quality, we're talking about land, and the rabbis say, land, the language of land has to do with the wanting to do the Hashem's will and running to do Hashem's will. And through us having this quality, we're able to bring this mamish into ourselves, and then we're able to bring this mamish out to the land of Israel till it's found in the fruits. So we have to understand everything we're going to talk about has to do with bringing the fruit, bringing this avoda that we're doing, serving Hashem, wanting in all this through different ways. Each type we're going to go and explain. In correlation with this, it is appropriate to explain that the content of the 7 species with the land of Israel was praised. What does it say over there? It says, the Lashon says how was it praised? It says it's a land. It talks about the land of Israel. It's a land of wheat and barley, and vine, and fig, and pomegranate, a land of olive oil and date honey. As known that the 7 species correspond to the 7 attributes. So here you have 7 species. You have wheat and barley, and then you have 7 species. You have wheat, barley, wine, and figs, and pomegranates, and olive oil and dates, or honeys. And then honey. So these 7 species correspond to 7 attributes. What do I mean attributes? Attributes is the way we relate into the world. The 7 branches of the completely called menorah, which refers to the Jewish people who are divided into 7 groups, 7 manners of serving Hashem. E.g., examples with this, which emphasizes on love for Hashem, fear of Hashem, etc. In other words, some people their attribute of loving is more loving Hashem. Some people are more fearful and want to do everything Hashem wants and very exact, don't want to make a mistake. Different levels, different ways of serving God. So each one is a different attribute, and therefore that the 7 species represents these 7 attributes, which represents 7 types of different Jews, how they serve Hashem. Which all of these particular aspects exist in each and every Jew, men, women, and child. So we all have these attributes. Let's look in 26. Although there are different levels in the manner of the manifestation of these aspects, clearly revealed, ordinarily revelation, or a mere ability, and is concealed, since it is only the ability, or the mere ability, and it is concealed. Sometimes when you can do, in other words, you want to love Hashem, you have the capability, but you can't do it, it's hidden. Since it's only the ability to love Hashem, etc. However, he's not presently actually loving Hashem. Concealed, however, it exists. In other words, that she's saying that these different levels, no matter how concealed they exist in each Jew. So when you see a Jew who doesn't, you feel that maybe, God forbid, for whatever reason, you can't see who and what he is, or you imagine theoretically there's a Jew who's doing no good,
And then how can you say that he loves Hashem? He says everything is hidden. It's either hidden in a way like it exists like fire inside a coal, or it's hidden in a way like something that doesn't exist, like fire in matches, or that as explained in many places. So anyways, so we see that all these levels are in each and every Jew, and all these levels will help us to make ourselves a special place. Now we're at page 208. Through the New Year for trees though the New Year for trees relates only to five of them. We have 7 species, but 2 of them is wheat and barley. And this isn't that's not included in the New Year for trees because they're not a tree. The 2 species, the second mentioned land, only relates though the New Year for trees relates only to 5 of them. The 2 species of the second mentioned land, we said there's 2 mentioning of the land, and the land of olive oil and date honey, that was the second time, and only 3 of the species from the first mentioned land, a land of, and then Rebbe puts in parentheses, wheat and barley, which not, wine, fig, and pomegranates. Whereas wheat and barley are not trees, like you see, and their new year is not on the 15th of Shvat, rather it's on the 1st of Tishrei, which is the new year for the types of wheats, legumes, and vegetables. So therefore we see that this pasuk, which is talking about what the land is praised by, only 5 of them have to do with this day. The main thing we're talking about the 5 fruits, because that's the change. The other 2 don't seem to have, as what we're talking about, the 2 of Shvat, don't seem to have as much to do with this day. Then the Rebbe says, nevertheless, so since this verse precedes wheat and barley before grapes, fig, pomegranate, olive oil, and date honey, and whatever is mentioned earlier in the verse has a precedence regarding the blessings recitation. So we know that when we're going to make a bracha, it have something in front of us that's made from wheat, and we have something in front of us made from grapes. Grapes in front of us, or figs. We first make the bracha on the wheat because that's the first one. So we see that wheat has a certain quality over the fruits, wheat and barley, because they're first mentioned. So whatever is mentioned early in the verse has the present regarding the blessing recitation, making the bracha, what you make the bracha on first. It is appropriate to first mention their lesson and instruction in the service of man. So the Rebbe says, since it's together, we have to understand what this has to do with service of man, not only the fruits of Tu B'Shvat. Moreover, it is appropriate to first mention the lesson and the instruction from the word land, mentioned at the beginning of the verse. So land is said at first, which is the source of all types of vegetables that come from both grain, wheat, and barley, as well as fruits of the tree, grapes, figs, pomegranates, olive oil, date honey. For although the place in which the trees grow is in a garden, which is more superior than a field which is comprised of regular land where grain grows, nevertheless also a garden is part of land, the higher land, as we shall explain. So therefore, we have to see that everything comes from the land. So even before we're going to talk about the wheat and what comes out of the land, now we're going to have to talk about the land. So let's go on. Number 3. What's time do we have? 18. Oh, we got plenty of time. Okay. Number 3 on page 209. The verse says that the land, from it comes bread, which includes all types of food, including fruits of the trees, after and through the efforts of man, beginning with plowing and planting, the words of the Mishnah, one who plants and one who plows. So therefore, everything comes from the land, but it's after we do our service in the land. So it says one who plants and one who plows is listed in this order, since the Mishnah is speaking about reference to the land of Israel, where they first sow and then plow. Since the land of Israel is firm, it is not possible to cover the sowing seeds without plowing. That is to say, in addition to plowing before the sowing, as with any land, there's also in a firm land plowing that after the sowing. Likewise, in the other actions required in order to making bread. Okay. So the Rebbe is talking about what's the idea with land. In order to do the service on land, that the land should give forth fruits, you have to plow it. But in Israel, it says you have to seed it, then plow it. Doesn't mean that. It means that you plow it first, And then generally, if it's not such a hard land, when you plow it, you put the seeds in and you put water, and there it goes. But if it's very hard, like rocks or like mud, you have to plow it again. So there they seed it, they plow it, then they seed it, then they plow it again, because the land is very, very firm. And it's similar. The Rebbe says also that there's the other actions they're requiring for making of bread, not only this particular one. And similarly, in the service of man to his Creator, that the beginning of godly service is with the concept of plowing to bring about a broken and trodden heart. As it is stated in the verse, a broken and trodden heart Hashem will not despise. And through this, there will be the sowing and the sprouting, etc. So we're talking a lot about this broken, trodden heart, because we know that we shouldn't be depressed over our problems. And we shouldn't be broken because we think we're in no goodnick. But maybe we're talking about more broken, trodden hearts. We should be upset that we can't be so close to Hashem. We want to be closer. Anyways, regardless, the Rebbe said something very, very special that's very important that we have to do. If you look in it says number 41. He says a broken heart. We said over here and similarly in the service of man to his Creator, that the beginning of the godly service is with the concept of plowing to bring about a broken heart. So 41, in the spiritual sense, the note below, emotionally means for physically one must have a healthy and unharmed body and a healthy and unharmed soul. Specifically, only in the spiritual sense is there feeling broken and trodden heart. In other words, you shouldn't beat yourself up. Feel you're nothing, hit yourself and fast and do this. It's only in a spiritual sense. You should be full, healthy and full of energy and full of joy. Your physical body should be wonderful. So that's the first thing he brings up. Then he says, as it says in the verse, a broken and trodden heart Hashem will not despise. So therefore we look down on 43. What's it say? However, along with this there must be the feeling of joy, since all matters of godly service must be done along with joy and gladness of the heart. In other words, that I'm upset that I didn't get this done or that done, or I said the bad, wrong things, or I was thinking about myself and worrying about myself and not my fellow Jew, and I had that, and I feel like terrible, I feel like a nothing before Hashem. That's one feeling. But with this, you're saying the reason I'm doing this is to serve Hashem. And since to serve Hashem, I have to be with joy. So therefore, even though I'm a bottom in this, and I'm going to break myself, and I'm not going to want to do it again, I'm serving God at this same moment, and I should be full of joy. The Rebbe emphasizes that the brokenness, that we have to be full of joy. So it shouldn't get depressed. You should be kind of upset, but at the same time full of joy, that because you're upset because you're serving Hashem. It's a wonderful way of looking at things. We should look at things like that more often and be more joy. And we may add that regarding the concept of plowing in the service of man, in accordance with the Torah insight of the Baal Shem Tov on the verse, it says, what's the idea of plowing? You shall be unto me a desirable land. So that the Baal Shem Tov explains, what's it mean that you should be desirable land? That the Jewish people are compared to a land which has precious stones and diamonds embedded in it. Only that it is necessary to search for them, including very intense search, since they are found in exclusive places in the ground, and it is necessary to dig in the depths of the earth, since in the most places they are not on the face of the earth, rather in the depths of the earth, which is the service of plowing is similar to this, that it is only necessary to place, and is similar to this, only that it's necessary to place much greater effort. So he says, there's a whole idea of plowing, which is to dig, to bring up the beauty and to bring up the beauty from the land. But there's also the level of digging, he says. The digging, he says, is even more effort than plowing. But just like he says down in 45, and since the effort is much greater, so to the matter found, you put effort, the more you put the effort you found is much greater. In other words, that Hashem, inside each Jew are the diamonds of gold and silver and these beautiful things that when you see another Jew, we should see it, and then we'd be so happy all the time. So it's in each and every Jew. But sometimes you have to dig. You have to dig into yourself. You have to start working on yourself. You have to realize that every Jew is special, and look at a Jew and see them as being so special. You have to dig into your own so that you can see the beauty in every Jew. And the same thing within ourselves. We have to see, and we have to dig in ourselves and see that we are all just not only this guy's a tzaddik, that guy's a nice guy, this guy's helped out people. I'm also a good guy. And I'm also helping out people, and I have to be happy for this. That's a big problem we have nowadays. I know people who are going around doing so many good deeds, and they're not happy. They have to be happy. They're doing wonderful things. They're wonderful people. So something to be happy about. Okay, so now we're on chapter 4, on page 211. And more in general, including in the service of man with land, is everything with which the service of the soul upon, and more in general, included in the service of man with land, is everything with the service of the soul upon its descent into this physical world, is accomplished by the 39 types of work, one who plants and one who plows, the total of 40 minus 1, In other words, so by working through the land and working in the land, well, our service, that working the land is down below, this is the idea of the soul coming down into the physical world and working in the physical world to reveal the sparks and bring Mashiach and then bring us home. The word 40 minus 1 and not 39 is similar to what is written, and you have made him on a level less than God. That was, God made man less than him. Let's look at this footnote over here. Let's see, 46. We're talking about the 39 types. Note that in several places the expression 39 types of word is used with regarding actions required for the order of making bread. For example, in Kutib Torah, Kosai 49d, that though the exact number of action types required for the order of making bread is 11. So this is very interesting. So the Rebbe says that even though it said we're talking about the idea of making in the world of the different works we do to elevate the world, he says over here that usually it talks about baking bread, but to actually making bread there's only 11. So the Rebbe says 11. The Rebbe loves 11. And the 11 is a level of how you're beyond the world. And the Rebbe says, and then look down on the bottom 211 in the asterisk, the Rebbe says, and we may say, which is something brand new, elusively speaking, that through the service and the effort for the spiritual bread, with the 11 types of work, that we have 11 types of work, and Chassidus is explained that the Torah is internalized like the bread through 11 different aspects of godly service, that one who reaches the level of 11, so with this, we internalize the Torah through serving God through the 11 levels. Then one who reaches the level of 11, the level of godliness that transcends the creation world, the world, which is higher than the 10, that this is the level of godliness that has relationship to the creation. 10 is a level which also is the content of that is a 40 over 40 minus 1. In other words, the Rebbe is saying that 11 has to do with the level of how Hashem is beyond the world. And there's 11 ways of making bread. The 11 types of work to make bread. And then he says, there's also that's higher than the level of 10, which is the level of how Hashem created the world. And this is similar to the thing of 40 over 40 minus 1. That's 40 means that you're complete, you have everything, but you're minus 1, you have one you're lacking one thing. Let's see, I don't clearly understand this, but let's go further anyways. Okay, the word 40 minus 1 and not 39 is similar to what is written, and you have made him on a level slightly less than God, as the exposition of our sages says that the 50 gates of understanding were created in the world. All of them were given to Moshe minus 1. As it says, you have made him slightly less than God. So when it talks about this, also has to do with the Sphirot. It talks about the kind of that there's 49 levels, gates of understanding, and the 50th is totally beyond them all. And that Moshe, that's after the giving of the Torah can be received. But you can only reach, a person can only refine himself 49 levels. The 50th level that Hashem gives you is from above that. So this we're talking about. Moshe was given 40 to 50, he was given all of it minus 1, it says. Number 1, what's this minus 1? That in addition to the fact that a person is only slightly less than Hashem, in other words, we're 40 just minus 1, we're Hashem just minus 1. Indeed, this is also a lesson in this fact that Hashem made it this way, that he made us 40 minus 1, is a special act for Hashem. And you have made him, that Hashem, this is part of Hashem's will. That we're not totally like Hashem. We're a little less than Hashem. And before this act, there was no lacking, no diminution, no lacking, since every Jew Each and every Jew is on the level of Elohim. It says, like the verse, it says, and I have said that you are Elohim. So each Jew is really the level of Hashem. And what's the time on it?
30.
Okay. And furthermore, let's see what this goes in the middle of this. I have said that you are Elohim, and furthermore, since the aspects of the names of Hashem called Havai and Elohim, the two aspects, Havai and Elohim, Havai is the well of Hashem's on the world, Elohim is how Hashem comes into the world, are likened to the sun and its sheath, namely that the name Elohim is the sheath of the name Havaya. Thus, each and every Jew is on the level of the name of Havaya, the name of Hashem, the higher name of Hashem. As the verse says, his nation is part of Havaya, his nation is part of Hashem. Only that it is when it descends below unto the land, this generation befalls it, and you have made him slightly less than God. In other words, that only less, when you come down into this world, therefore you lose a little bit. And then Rebbe is going to explain that we're going to reach a higher level, but we'll continue this Mitzvah Shem tomorrow, as I say, hopefully in the Beis HaMikdash, and that we'll even have a much nicer class. Anyway, Zay Gesund everybody, Yechia Melech. Only hope the best for everybody, and we'll it's Shabbos by us soon. Zay Gesund, and you should have a wonderful, wonderful Shabbos, and just be well.